Hey Curly Beauty Gang, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my wig series. So in this video I will be installing and making my frontal units, and please do not judge me because this is actually my second time making a frontal. So I am very new, and I'm also beginner myself. So for that reason I will be doing the glue method. So this isn't really like a how-to, it's kind of just to show you guys how I made my frontal. So if you want to watch and try to learn something from me, then you can keep on watching. And if you are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button, okay? So I'm just pretty much showing you guys what I'm using to make this frontal. Everything will also be in the description box as well if you are confused of what I'm using. So it is very easy, and all this stuff you can find at the beauty supply, Amazon, eBay, or Sally's, it doesn't matter. So I like using the dome caps to make my units. I know some people like using mesh caps to sew, but since I am gluing this unit, I will be using a dome cap. I feel like that will be the easiest. So all I'm doing is just lining this frontal up, and I'm just going to pin the front, the back, and then the sides of this. And you guys can kind of see how my frontal is pushed forward and not like exactly on the dome cap. You want to like do that on purpose so it can fit on your head and everything. You don't want it to lay exactly on the dome cap. Like push the fronts and the sides of the frontal a little forward of the dome cap, okay? So now I'm just pinning the ends of this frontal onto the cap, and I actually was struggling a little bit because this dome cap was actually really big. I usually like the really tight ones so it can fit on my head, or I like the extra large. I have no idea what size cap this was, but it was like huge. Actually, I usually get the men's extra large dome cap because that one is the tight one. This dome cap that I'm using is actually a woman's, so I believe that's why it's all weird, because usually it's tight, but I don't know what was going on. So now I will be taking my curved needle, and personally curved needles are my favorite to work with, and nylon thread, as you can see. And I do have a video up on my channel of how I thread my needles and how to sew in my other wig series, so you guys can check that video out. And that was of me like making a closure, so I just felt like since I already had that video up, I didn't feel the need to do it again in this video. So if you are confused about that, make sure you go ahead and check that out so you can learn how to sew. So I usually start in the middle, and then I sew down one side, and then I start in the middle again and sew down on the other side, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. Just keep on watching. And again, if you don't know how to start threading or sewing, make sure you check that video out because I really did go in detail of how to thread your needle and everything. I just didn't want to take up too much time because I didn't want this video to be too long. Y'all, whenever I sew, I love doing the loop and pull method. So in this little clip right here, you can see slow motion how I'm sewing. I'm like going down with my curved needle, and I'm bringing the needle through that loop and pulling. And I also show this in my other video as well. So I just did that in slow motion so you guys can see. So I'm taking my needle through in a C motion. That's what the curved needle is for. You do it in like a curve or a C motion and then put it right through that loop. Okay guys, so do you see where that line is around the cap? You do not, this is where the spandex is. After that line, that's where the thick spandex is. If you sew through that spandex, your wig will not stretch, okay? So you want to sew through like the material of it, but not the actual hard spandex part. So now I just cut the thread, and I'm going to triple tie this since I am done on one side. And once you're done triple knotting it, you are going to cut the thread, not too low, but kind of where the knot is. So once again, I will be starting in the middle and sewing down on the other side. Okay, y'all, so once you finish sewing your frontal, I like to try it on just to see how it's laying, how it's looking. So as y'all see, it's laid okay. And we are on to the tracks. So as you guys can see, those lines on my dome cap are crooked. I was basically supposed to go off those lines. That's just like a guide. But honestly, if your frontal is laying down right, then it should still lay down flat on your head regardless, okay? So as you see, I'm taking my first track and I'm kind of just putting it at the bottom and connecting it to both ends of the frontal. I like to cut my tracks personally. And here I am just gluing the tracks, and I will be using my blow dryer on a low heat setting so we can blow dry this hair, because if you use it too high, it's gonna like blow your track off literally, and I'm not even exaggerating. For that second track, you are going to also connect it to the frontal. And you kind of want to use pinky finger space in between your first track and your second track. And you're going to do this all the way up till you get to the top. So you're kind of just going to place your tracks in like a U motion. Not too deep, but a nice U sort of shape. The third track, we're just going to do the same thing, the same exact damn thing, and that's it, and that's all. Super easy. And if you are a beginner, I would recommend doing the glue method, but I also would recommend trying to sew, because you also want to learn how to sew and get better at it rather than just keep gluing your wigs. You know what I mean? So you kind of just want to play with it. You want to sew some of your wigs and then glue some of them. Like this one, I really just wanted it done. You know, I just wanted it done. But other than that, you can always do the glue method wigs. Sometimes the tracks do slip, so you just got to glue it back down. I mean, that's the only annoying thing, but you could always go back to sew the tracks in. That's the good part. So pretty much every single track after that, you still want to do the U method until you kind of like get to the top, and I'll show you when to stop doing the U. I also had to go back in and re-dye this hair because some parts were like left blonde, because I dyed it in the bundle pack rather than opening the pack of hair, because I just felt like that was easier for me. But now it backfired, because as soon as I unraveled the bundles, you can see the parts that I missed. So I did go back and dye it again. Okay, so this is the top, and honestly, this is where I started messing up at. Actually, no. I think I've been started messing up, but it's whatever. I was actually gluing the... Sorry, guys. I was trying to say I started making this wig how I do my closures, and I forgot that frontals and closures are two different methods. So yeah, that's where I kind of messed up on, but I will try to do another frontal a different way, and if that works, I will definitely show you guys on camera. So both the lines should be covered, but since this dome cap was a little crooked, that's why both of them aren't covered. So now I'm just taking the tracks and I'm kind of just doing a U shape, but I'm not connecting it to the frontal anymore. I'm just connecting it to the last track, if that makes sense. You guys can see what I'm talking about. And I just pretty much do this all the way up. Here's where you want to start spacing your tracks more, but not too much, because you will see it. This will be the top of your head and like the back of your head. So I'm spacing it a little more, and I'm also doing the U shape, but also trying to straighten these tracks out just so it can lay flat. Yes, sis, yes, we are getting closer to the back of that frontal. That's how you know we're about to be done, period. And I kind of show you here how I'm spacing the tracks in between. So we freaking made it to the last track, y'all. So I'm just connecting the last track to the frontal. You want to connect it exactly to the back of the frontal. This is how much hair I had left. I used 3 bundles and a frontal. Well, almost 3 bundles. But wait, we are not finished yet. We have to cut that black part of the cap under the frontal, so your frontal can look like a scalp when it's placed on your head, okay? So you want to cut this out, but you do not want to get too close to your tracks, all right? Like, y'all want to be very careful. Take your time, especially if you're a beginner. See, you see how I'm kind of cutting? Like, I'm taking my time. I'm cutting out chunk by chunk, and I will eventually get to the center. If you do cut where you were sewing, your frontal is going to lift. And I really, like I said in my last video, I don't know what to tell y'all because that never happened to me. So I'm so sorry if that does happen to y'all. I pray it doesn't. But just take your time and be very careful when you get close to where you sewed at. You guys can kind of see I got very close to where I was sewing, so be careful. Now, who's going to stop us? We have a frontal scalp now, period. Stay tuned for part 3.